Good afternoon, and welcome to an episode of Purple Politics. Right, my topic today is why black men are leaving the Democratic Party. This will be a multi-part series. Um, um, I will, I will be making a multi-part series to this. If you like what you see, like, comment, and subscribe if you want to get more of these videos, and also let me know, comment what else you would like me to talk about or make a video about, and I will make sure to oblige. All right. Um. Yes. So, why are black men leaving the Democratic Party? Right. So I'm going to start with an introduction to black conservatives. A lot of times people believe that just because you are black, you must inherently be liberal, and historically speaking, that has not always been the case. You look at early black leaders such as Booker T. Washington. Um, he was a founder of the Tuskegee Institute. Look at Frederick Douglass. You look at black thinkers like such as Thomas Sowell. Um, you'll realize that black conservatism is nothing new. The carte blanche support of liberalism is relatively new, but black conservatism is certainly not new. And there was a point in time when black conservatism was necessary because the main appeal of conservatism is appealing to the community being the main source of influence to the family, or maybe the other way around, right? The traditional family unit being the 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 cell of a community, right? Um, and we had to rely on ourselves because of a largely unfriendly government or society at large. The major movements of the civil rights movement would not be possible unless we were conservative, because you had to be community organized. You can't do a bus boycott unless people were willing to carpool. You We had to share with each other, share resources, share goods, share foods, in order to exist, much less thrive. So the idea of black conservatism is nothing new and should not come as a shock a shock to modern people. Um, um, I want to speak about the importance of family, as to why black men are leaving the the Democratic Party. Um, I think black men are in mass, and again, black men are not a monolith, nor should they be treated as such. We should be allowed to have differing opinions. I'm going to speak in generalizations. I am not a scientist. I'm not an anthropologist. I'm just speaking from anecdotal experience that I will try to give some speculation, right? And I will back it with reason. And if you agree with it, don't. If not, cast it away, right? But family. I think that family-focused black men are rejecting the liberal implication that the father is not necessary in the family. Um, um, I believe that there's a lot of programming in the black community that suggests that I think there's a throwing the baby out with the bathwater, and that although women should be empowered and you know franchised, you know, that men are an important backbone to the family. There seems to be this like liberal push that women and men have a destiny separate from each other, and that their existences can be validated as separate entities. And I reject that. I believe that man and woman are part of the unit of a family, right? The if you want to get esoteric, right, the masculine and feminine, right? You have the unity, you have the balance of the polar opposites that come into the union to create a new birth, right? Which procreationally is a child, right? And so um, I don't believe that the man is optional, and many democratic social policies kind of finance or subsidize the man being away from the home. What largely happened in the black community was that there's lots of welfare given to single mothers, and they would have sweeps to go into the home to make sure the father was not there, because you were only entitled to these benefits if the father was not there. So they pretty much subsidized um, um, and encouraged, reinforced the lack of male involvement in the home. So you mix economic engineering as well as the social in engineering of misandrist ideology, man hating ideology, men bashing, male bashing ideology, and and it's going to push the man away from the home, and the man, especially like the well-to-do man or the family-oriented man, is seeing the programming coming from Democrats, and he's like, I can't deal with it. I can't deal with it. I identify with the conservative ideology of the importance of the nuclear family, of the traditional family, if that makes sense, right? Um, you look at family is the backbone of any community, and you look at the statistics of single mother homes and the outcomes of single mother homes, especially when you compare it to single father homes. You look at the outcomes. You see the importance of the male at home, the structure, the discipline, the checks and balances that children need are provided from the masculine element. You know, um, if I can get woo woo and hippie about it, um, I believe that in essence, like the feminine element is boundless creativity, is like magic, it is unbridled imagination, unbridled potential, right? It is the hope, it is the dream, it is the faith. Whereas the masculine element is the order. It is to give form. It is to it is to give direction to potential for for achievement. If that makes sense, right? That's why you look at the the sperm or the seed, right? Right. You look at the like the feminine element as like the nurturing, the source, like the egg, whereas the sperm, which has the nurturing, the sustenance, where you have the sperm. And while both give DNA, right, both provide DNA, right. The male sperm, right, determines if it's like male or female. It comes with like lots of codifying instruction. You look at the masculine ideology as to be, more of a stern, forceful, right? That's why there's the testosterone. That's why there's the drive to work, right? To do work is greater in men because of that masculine element, right? If that makes sense, especially amongst primates. Family is important. Family is important. Um, Today over 70% of black children are born into single parent households. And this is not to bash single mothers, but it's just to recognize the importance of fathers in the homes. And while I'm on that topic, I definitely think that black men, especially conservative black men, are very much into the correction of black male behavior, especially what is celebrated in the liberal community. Well, how do you why are you saying that liberal culture celebrates negative black behavior? Because liberal culture are the ones pushing, the negative black stereotypes amongst men and women. They're the ones who are endorsing hip hop. Well, not hip hop, rap, right? And we can make appeals to the revolutionary, deep conscious, form of hip hop, and that every rap artist is not this negative, toxic, toxic, masculine archetype. That's true. There are the J. Cole's, there are the Kendricks, but by and large, the representation of rap, and by proxy, black men are these negative stereotypes, and this is being pushed mostly by liberals. You're not gonna find NBA YoungBoy played at a MAGA convention, right? These coons are being pushed onto the stage by Democrats. Um, uh, next, I want to speak on school choice, schools, right? I don't know how black liberals cannot don't have a cognitive dissonance when looking at the reality of our schools. Our public schools are terrible, and you know, areas with dense black populations are largely in liberal areas, and I feel like we give them the like excuses of time, whatever. But it's like white liberals know how to take a child from like a kid to Ivy League. They have Ivy League mills all the time. They just deny access to the same educational institutions. When we think about segregation, what comes to mind usually is like a boogeyman of like conservatives, right? Of a white male conservative. That's what, or like white, like conservative states. When we think of states that are segregated, we think of Alabama, we think of Louisiana, we think of um, Georgia, Florida, right? Bastions of conservatism. But we don't think of New York City. We don't think of California. And I want you guys to don't take my word for it. Look up the racial makeup of New York City public schools. Our white liberal counterparts are not sending their kids to schools with us. They're largely sending their kids to private school, or even if their white kids are in public schools, they are in different school zones, right? And so when schools were integrated, schools are only forced to be integrated in places where race was deemed a problem. And so you look at have the South was segregated by they might have a sign saying no niggers allowed, but in the North it was segregated by saying you need to make $200,000 to live here, right? Right. One was more aggressive, but they both had the same effect, and that persists to this day. Again, don't take my word for it. Do the research for yourself. New York City public schools are very segregated, and so a poor education is being given to our children, and money is being thrown at it, but it's not going to the teachers. It's not going to the kids. Something's happening. Something's happening, and we need to stop making excuses for the people who we've given charge over our children. Right? I think black men who are conscious of schools and school choice are want alternatives. You need to have competition, and this is like a fundamental to capitalism. You need to have competition, right? And so when you have public schools, there's no competition, right? They are just established and chartered, and there's no impetus to do better because this is your only option. Whereas if you have competing options, they're forced to get the best outcomes. And so you have charter schools that are putting their best into training up teachers and training up students into having good scores on their tests so that you can choose to go to their school as opposed to the other school. You need competition in schools to make to be the best. Whereas, private schools have competition. You know, you want to choose between a Poly Prep or a Packer Institute. You want or parochial schools. You want competition. The Regis versus the Xavier. Uh, you want competition between schools because you want to. If your schools provide the best outcome for the kids, I would choose to send my kid to your school. Public schools, there's no choice. You must go to your own school. And if property taxes pay for schools, then if you live in a poor community, the resources available to your school will be much less. And so look at our schools. This is another reason why black men are leaving the the Democratic Party. Right. I'm gonna cut my video here. Like, comment, subscribe if you want more information. Let me know what you want me to talk about. I'm going to have a part 2 coming about why black men are leaving the Democratic Party. If you like what you're seeing, please like, comment, and subscribe. Welcome again to Purple Politics, where you get non-biased news. All right, logging out.